going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to talk today a little bit about some of the troubles that I think we are having when it comes to selling. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, we're one of the healthiest clubs in terms of PSR, blah, blah, blah. You forget that PSR is a guideline on what we're allowed to spend. That doesn't mean that's what you've got to spend. You know, I've used this analogy in the past. Technically, there is nothing stopping me going buying a Ferrari. Legally, I can go and buy a Ferrari today. However, when I hand over my card to the man, he says, computer says, no, my friend. And I think that's more of a situation that United find themselves in. PSR-wise, I think we're okay in terms of what we're probably going to bring in this summer. I think cash in the bank and the requirement that we have to move on some of these higher earners. You know, we are struggling with Sancho, with Antony. Rashford, I feel like there's either a desire or a potential for a reconciliation, but ultimately Rashford's on the list. You know, there's players here, Garnacho especially, you know, that even though they've been told they can leave, they ain't left. Daniel Berry in the comments mentioned there's some clubs that could be waiting to the 1st of July. It's valid, yeah, possibly, but I don't think that stops them organising transfers now. You know, I think you can absolutely put that transfer through on the 1st of July. I don't think anyone would have an issue with that whatsoever. The problem is that there's just not a lot of rumours even, is there? There's so little kind of talk about where these players could be going. I think it could end up being quite problematic for us. As it stands, we are facing a situation I don't feel like enough people are giving attention to, or maybe it's because they don't have any answers to it. You can't force clubs to take your players. But we are already dealing with financial troubles. A lot of our transfer targets feel like they depend on us selling quite a lot of our existing players. There's a lot of players holding on that we seemingly can't sell. Players that are being greedy, being complacent. And I think it's going to influence our transfer activity going forward. I'll go through each player and then you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Steve says, we've got 3 left wingers to sell. Napoli aren't going to buy all of them. Christ. So, let's start with Rashford then. So, Rashford is holding out for a Champions League club. Okay. His wages are going to be a bloody tough task to match. Barcelona, supposedly one of the people that had interest, but they've gone with Nico Williams. Can't blame them. Aston Villa have decided against activating his buy-in option. So what's going to happen with him? Like I said, out of all of the ones that are linked with a move out, he is the one that I think would have a chance at some sort of a reconciliation. But man, he's going to have to do a lot of proving to win the fans back. And I don't know if it's possible for him to do it, to be honest. I think he needs the change. I think the club needs the change. And I think it'd be best for everyone if he moved on. Jadon Sancho, very similar situation. Nobody wants him. Nobody wants him. No, there's been direct conversations with Chelsea. They couldn't agree on his salary. He's just not interested in dropping his salary. Napoli were exploring a deal. They clearly aren't interested in matching his salary demands. And out of all of the players, this is the one with the most obvious attitude problems. Rashford has at least gone, and I think he's been pretty mediocre at Villa in all honesty, but at least he's gone and shown willing. Antony went and shown willing. Garnacho, if you just looked at the stats, you would think you're getting a real player. Sancho's going to be the big problem one. And I don't see a way this one gets resolved easily, to be honest. I think Sancho's going to be the real problematic one to move on. I don't know where he goes. I feel like United might end up having to pay for it still. I would be very much looking to see if you can just cancel his contract. It's a problem player to have around. Antony is just a pure lack of interest. His wages won't be an easy match. You know, he was given a salary commensurate to his transfer fee at Manchester United. Betis want a loan deal with him again. But you can't just keep loaning our players away for free. Like, if you want him, you can't have half of his contract and pay no money towards it. It doesn't work like that. If you want him, come in with a transfer fee and we will absolutely package him up lovely for you and drop him off at your doorstep. Amazon Prime. But you can't just have him for free. United have our own financial problems. We can't just be bent over like this. Maybe we're gonna get bent over because of the half a dozen players that we're trying to move on. But it can't be done like that. Garnacho. Supposedly, Garnacho wants a Premier League club. The fact he wants a Premier League club limits his potential suitors. Not many Premier League clubs want a player of his profile, his wage demands. And United clearly do want to sell him. Maybe we fucked up by publicly announcing that he needs to be moved on. But you're not going to get the sort of money. United are not in a strong situation with demand, with cheap wages, and the public scrutiny around all of these players to be able to demand any sort of decent wages for them. And that's before you get into Rasmus Højlund, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, and all of those other players that probably, Anana, that probably need moving on to a greater or lesser degree. It's going to be impossible to move all of these players on. It's just impossible. So there's a minute amount of clubs that might be interested in some of these players, but they probably want to take advantage of the situation United find themselves in. It's trouble for us. Because if you don't move them on, you've probably got best part of, if not more than £1 million a week in wages for players that you can't really do anything with. That's £50 million a year. How do you move these players on? Are we just going to have to take a complete loss? Is there any positives about this? Do you actually need to move all of these? Is there any that can be salvaged? I feel like it comes down to attitude. Howson says, I need to know your opinion on Israel versus Iran. Shit's getting real. I will probably save this for a late night live, and we can do a late night live special on Iran versus Israel. And it's not cut and dry. I know a lot of people would like it to be, but it's not. So we'll save it for a late night live because there is a hell of a lot to get into. And I don't think people would be able to guess my stance on it. I don't think. But like I said, I'll save that. Infinite Paradox says, Amorim is a coach, not a manager. Don't know what that is. Don't know what you mean by that. Vinay says, so-called hottest assets 4 years ago reduced to rubble by bad performances. Save the Jungle says, war is not the answer. I completely agree with that sentiment. Garrett says, we need Garnacho. You should not sell Garnacho and Rashford. I don't think we need Garnacho. I don't think you could make a case for me that makes me agree with you that we need Garnacho. Malcolm says, all of these guys think that they're better than they are and will get sold at the end of the window because someone will have to buckle. Yeah, probably us, though, I think. Probably us getting absolutely shafted. This is the out-of-date bread in Tesco with a yellow sticker on it. That's what all these lads are now. Hassan says, main channel or IRL. It'll probably be on this channel as a late night live because we can delve into stuff on a late night live. I am thinking, so within the next 4 or 5 weeks, I will be starting to push out the podcasts on the Stephen Howson podcast channel. I am trying to do it in a quite deliberate, methodical way, and there's so much learning I'm going to have to do. When I'm on podcasts, it's usually me being asked questions. I'm not usually the guy that asks the questions. So it's a complete different way of me being on podcasts. So I'm going to need a little bit of patience from you guys as an audience for that, but I'm hoping to uncover some phenomenal stories. Luckily enough, I've got a bit of a profile doing the job that I have done for the last decade. I've got some really good connections, which means I've got some access to some fantastic people with some fantastic stories. But what I don't want to do is just give you stories, headline, surface level stories. For an example, one of my friends was a Royal Marine. He was hit with a grenade in the neck when he was 18. There's your headline story. He's on about half a dozen podcasts and everyone's asked the same sort of questions of him. I would like to go into the mindset of the depression, of identity, of the rebuild and all that sort of stuff, because I feel like I see this in very much a similar way to, like, I get frustrated watching fucking Edwin van der Sar or Stay Quiet Until You Hear a Goalkeeper That Was Better Than You. You're talking to one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time. Ask him about the technical details of being a goalkeeper. Rio, when he's talking about Edwin van der Sar, would always talk about the very small details of, I'm going to cover this half of the goal. I'm going to show them that half of the goal, you be in that bit. Those are the technical details I fucking obsess over. And in every aspect of everybody's life, those details that you don't know about until you're doing it. Soldiering has got those fine details. I don't think people would understand the level of creativity that's required for soldiers. People think soldiers are ordered to go and do this, that, and the other. The amount of creativity and responsibility down at the section level that 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old council estate scumbags like me had to deal with is unfathomable, with dire physical consequences. But that's in every single aspect of it. Like, I would like to bring on athletes from non-football athletes. I want to know the details of that. Whether you're a gymnast or a sprinter or a high rocks athlete, I want to get into the fine details of what it is that you do. Whether you're an author in a topic I don't know about, whether you're an AI guy, I want to know the details and understand what's going on with this sort of stuff. I hate the surface level headline grabbing kind of interviews that people do. I don't want to interview anybody and ask them stuff that they've been asked before. Now, some people are going to have to fill in their story a little bit. So, for example, my mate that was grenaded, we're going to have to talk about that because that's kind of like the package which all of the other stuff comes from. But I would like to go into the deeper level of things with him, and not just him. You know, all of the different people that I want to bring on, I want to do that. And it isn't just going to be a military podcast. It's like, that's going to be like one of a dozen kind of areas that I want to touch on with people. So I think I want to do that. I'm going to take it very, very seriously. And I'm under no illusions that I'm going to be a complete fucking white belt in this at first. And I'm going to have to stop myself interrupting, because I know that I interrupt too much when I'm on podcasts. I'm doing a podcast with Janine in about half an hour. I know I'll interrupt her. So I'm going to have to really consciously fucking tell myself not to, and to ask more why questions. And that's that. So yeah. Rob says, I'm worried with the lack of names being mooted for midfield. We are at nothing if we don't improve there. And strikers and other areas, to be honest with you. Everything's gone quiet, hasn't it? I don't know if it's because people are focusing on the Club World Cup or there's just genuinely no news. Everything's gone quiet. Nick says, we will get shafted on all these players, but that's because of the Glazers' tenure. INEOS have to suck it up or work through the losses and try and get more power and stake in the club. I agree. CTB says, sunk cost fallacy. Just because Rashford was worth 80 under Ollie a few seasons ago is irrelevant. He's worth 10, 20 million, so that's what we should take. I think he's worth more than that. Infinite Paradox says, why don't we pay Sancho's wages? That way he will lose by joining another club. We give him 5 mil, get 20 mil for a club for him, 15 mil. I don't know. Buffy says, finding things out is one of life's greatest pleasures. Carl Sagan. See, he was a smart fellow, wasn't he? Am I worried about Liverpool getting 21? Yes. Did I see Andy Mitten's interview with Barada? Yes. I'm probably going to do a reaction to that. Whether that happens today or tomorrow, I'm not sure. I'll see when I get time, but I will be doing a reaction to that because I thought it was very interesting. And Andy does the Lord's work when it comes to that sort of stuff, doesn't he? So yes, I'll absolutely be doing that. And if you've not seen it, go check it out. And then you can have a look at my reaction a little bit later as well. Can we take a minute to laugh at the Club World Cup? It's a fucking farce, isn't it? And we knew that anyway. Angus says, I always liked Alex Stepney personally. I love Alex Stepney. I think he's one of the greatest blokes on earth. Actually, it says, I don't buy the Gyökeres hype. There's a reason why no one went for him before the move to Sporting. Not necessarily. Classic Noah says, do I think United are looking to sell before we get in another player? Apparently United are prioritising the sale of Sancho. Maybe that's why we've sort of put a pause on stuff, because we thought we were about to sell and we've not sold, so maybe that has sort of derailed it a little bit. That's very likely. I think that would be a good sort of reason for doing it. Infinite Paradox says, out of Antony, Garnacho, Rashford, Sancho, who do I reckon stays, goes on loan and gets sold this summer? Honestly, right now, I really don't know. I do not know. Daku says, yes, big man, how are you? When am I doing a live again? Need some random babbling. Probably do one over the weekend. Not sure when, though. We'll probably do one over the weekend, though. We'll say that. NT says, if Liverpool win 21, what's the opposite of a sausage roll party that we can have? I will be creating parody accounts and trying to rile Iran up into attacking everyone and causing World War III before that parade happens. If that's all right with everyone else. Narco says, clubs are always confident they can get the highest fee from us when selling, the lowest when buying. Why are they so confident in negotiations with United? Because United have been fucking awful at it in recent years, and I think there's good evidence to suggest that they can do that. I think United, lack of planning on United's part means urgency, and that urgency means, well, it means urgency, doesn't it? So it means that you end up taking whatever you can. CTB says, I hate those stay quiet until you hear better interviews. Define better. There's new ones. Better at what in what situation. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I saw the Wayne Rooney one the other day, and I saw people kicking off about it, saying he thinks he's better than X, Y, and Z. And you're like, yeah, he does. Now, are you talking as a footballer? Or are you talking as a striker? Are you like, because what? Because honestly, like, Wayne Rooney was fantastic at so much, and his level of understanding of football. You know, if you asked him to score 50 goals like Lewandowski, could he do it? Probably not. But could Lewandowski provide that assist for Robin Van Persie? Probably not. So what do you value more in a team? In the role that Wayne Rooney played, Wayne Rooney was the best at that role. You know, for me, he was a hair under Messi and Ronaldo at one point. You know, that's how good he was. Ratchet says, Steve, is there a striker on the market that good on the ball like Henry or even pre-contract Aubameyang? I've never heard that comparison before. There will be. I mean, well, no, there won't be. No, there won't be one as good as Thierry Henry, no, but who's that person right now? Not sure. Notch says, could end up with Sancho, Rashford, Antony, Mount and Shaw's contracts all run down. We could. What are the penalties for breaching PSR regulations? Point deductions, I think, looking at what happened with Everton. Malcolm says, transfer fees are a bit shit because everyone knows that we're unstable. We haven't really had two consistent good seasons since Fergie retired. Warrior Sparta says, people seem to forget Rooney's impact. It's crazy. Yep. Akash says, you know what's crazy is Rashford has 3 years to run his United contract. MN2 says, have I seen that Napoli are interested in Højlund, but now they're looking at Núñez? Fucking hell. Ronan says, if Barada is so good, why can't we get the same sales and deals that City get? Wasn't either guy at City for years? Well, for starters, Manchester City, when they were going in for people, typically did so quite covertly. They targeted players where they knew the value of them. They got a lot of decent deals in. Latterly, they've not really been doing that. They've been paying quite a lot of money for people. Also, when they've brought players in, they've not really had to sell in the same sort of manner that we have. They've got a couple of people who've flopped, but when they've sold players that were surplus to requirements, like Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, because they didn't desperately need to get them off the books, or they weren't like bad characters in the sense that United have had, or they didn't fit the system because they were bought for the system. They've not needed to take such a loss on them. Nick says, if we get some more rumours, well, I did a video where he's standing in the street shouting about shit. I filmed that on a Friday, so I've not been around on a Friday to do that since the window opened. So I'll be doing that tomorrow, and it goes out Saturday morning. Carwin says, I've seen your issues with your calf. My girlfriend went for an MRI on her calf, and it came back as a compartment syndrome issue, maybe something. I had compartment syndrome, and I had the surgery for it. My issue with my calf at the moment is it's my soleus, and the soleus is one of those things that never actually gets a chance to heal properly. You feel like it's healed, and it just hasn't. And it also goes under intensity increases and mileage increases, which I guess is like intensity, isn't it? So it's just one of those things that I can fix it. I will fix it. It's just, I only have 2 gears, stop and red line. And unfortunately I'm fucking 41 and things go. But we just fucking try. Malcolm says, have I heard of any youth that could make the first team breakthrough this year? Unfortunately, I think they're all a bit too young. There's some unbelievable talent in United's academy, but they are just a bit too young, I think. Am I interested in doing a High Rocks? Yes, I can't get one for love nor money. You say you're doing Dublin. I had a pre-sale link for Dublin. There was 13,000 people in front of me in the queue. It was all sold out by the time I got to the front. I didn't even try for London. I absolutely would do a High Rocks, yeah, for sure. Would love one. Ruben says, finally catching live after what feels like ages is no one's asked how was Turkey. Well, we'll be talking about Turkey on IRL with Janine. We're about to go record that in a minute. So it's one of them. Musa says United should be able to take a tough stand against players like Rashford and Sancho if it's to change its reputation. They should, yeah, you're right. If Onana stays, I think we can finish above 15th next season. Yes. Is Barada going to get in trouble if City get punished for their 115 cases? Couldn't tell you. Adam says, Garnacho to Leverkusen, Ten Hag reunion should be possible. Yeah. Did the compartment syndrome surgery work in the process of trying to decide to go for it or not? Yes, it absolutely worked. Yeah. So I couldn't run very far at all without compartment syndrome happening. So what happens with compartment syndrome is the compartment fills up with blood. That compartment then becomes hard because of all the blood that's inside it, and it stopped me flexing the ankle, and that led to a lot of calf strains that I was getting. What I'm getting now is it's different. So the injury that I got doing the Manchester 10K, that was unique and new, and I hadn't had that before. And I think that was as a result of having a different calf strain that I'd got somewhere prior. And then the one that I got 2 weeks ago was something entirely new that I've not had before. That was very much like a rip. That was in my soleus, just below the big muscle. I rested it for a couple of weeks. I tried to go again on Tuesday because I was meant to do the hybrid games on Saturday. I needed to test it. I tested it. After about 100 meters, it went. So these are all different calf strains, possibly because of changing gait, possibly because of too much intensity, possibly because I'm fucking old, possibly because of the history of injuries in the past. We'll get there. It's just a long-winded process, and it's pretty frustrating, but we will get there. Daniel says, honestly, I expected this. The quick start of the window was a lovely surprise, and I did think for a few days we might actually go well this window, but it's been an anomaly. Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're totally correct. Pinch Guerrero says, any experience as a CFAV? Is that Cadet Force Adult Volunteer, maybe? With the cadets, the MOD are looking to double cadet numbers, obviously reading the room with Iran and Russia, etc. worth volunteering. I got no interest in the cadets, but I will admit I don't really know enough about it. I didn't mess with the cadets when I was younger. And from what I can gather, they don't do any weapon handling. That's not to say that there's not things that you can do with cadets. There's probably a lot of things that you could, certainly fitness, map reading and military skills outside of weapon handling, that you could absolutely do. I'm not sure if just increasing cadets is going to help solve what's going on. It does feel very much like there's a desire to get involved militarily again in the Middle East, and ultimately my thoughts on that is I don't want British troops on the ground in the Middle East again. I don't think we should be involved. I think we are involved. I don't think we should be involved. And I certainly don't see, unless I'm, there's probably a lot of intelligence I'm not privy to, but I don't see why we should be. ST says, I ruptured my Achilles in Jan. Healing takes a lot of time, ironically 2 days after the Ahmad High. James says, where would I put Casemiro being sold on a priority due to his wages? Probably fairly high up, but if he's happy here and there's no takers, I don't think he's been an issue. So it's one of them. Calvin says, should we act fast, especially when the Club World Cup teams will have more money? Yeah, but they would have already accounted for that, I think. CTB says, I've done the cadets before as a teen, didn't like it. There wasn't any weapons or fun stuff. It felt more like Cub Scouts Club. Yeah, now, I don't know. So I could be misspeaking here, but what I heard was that they're not allowed to have weapons because of like child soldier connotations, which makes sense. Unfortunately, the very fun stuff about the military does involve guns. So I don't know how you get, unless it's on adventure training, I don't really know how you make cadets fun enough, especially for like inner city kids that are probably fucking with weapons anyway, or at least been around weapons. And I'm not talking about, machine guns. I'm talking about, knives and bats and things like that. Taking them to a place that should be like leveling up that sort of like exposure to violence, actually like steps them down for what they might see at home or on the estate. I don't know how you make cool, maybe the wrong word, but like exciting and intriguing might be the right word. It's just got like a wanky, like you said, like Cub Scouts, it's got like a wank fucking persona about it, and I don't know how you change that. I don't know whether you get some of the lads that have been involved in like the SAS Who Dares Wins kind of programs. Certainly not me. I'm not the fucking face for the cadets for sure. But maybe some people that had like proper fucking gnarly military careers that did some serious shit. I think that they should have a go at that. What happened to me doing P Company? Age. You have to... There's different guidelines depending on who you talk to, but it's a hard stop at being 40, and I'm 41. So I didn't get fit enough in time to have a go. MN2K2 says, I remember fun stuff in the army like sweeping garages, litter picking, good times. See, yeah, maybe that's what they need to do, is more camnet rolling. I mean, how much of your afternoon have you really spent if you've not re-rolled camnets 45 fucking times? Malp says, I'm telling you now, the majority of these players are going nowhere. I think that's probably relatively accurate. Pinch Guero says, yeah, we did tons of flying and weapons back in the day. Rumour has it they are looking to revert back to original format whereby it was always known that it was a youth military training wing. I wonder, could... I wonder if there was an angle where you could get them maybe fucking about with airsoft or something like that, where they could do maybe a bit of CQB, a bit of breaching, a little bit of like section attack type stuff, where that would be like that. Ratchet says, is the US too powerful to be challenged militarily? My gut instinct is to say yes, but I also think that probably because China's never going to want to like invade. But I also think China could probably get away with doing pretty much whatever it fucking wanted to, if it wanted to, at the same time. So I think it's a complicated answer. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens if China decides to go fuck with Taiwan. Because it feels like they're gonna. And that's got consequences all over the fucking world if it does. Because, like, basically all the microchips in the world are made there, and that's problematic for them to control all those. Andrew says, I watched a podcast about that J bloke I mentioned. He's dead laid back about what he's done. Jay's going to be doing a podcast soon. I think it's next week. It comes out. Where he's going to lay out what he's done in his career. It's a fucking enormous podcast. And it's also, it'll be an enormous length of a podcast as well. It'd be interesting to see if and how much they cut of it. I believe 6.5 hours was what the recording time on it was. So it'd be very, 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 very interesting to see if and what gets cut from that. And if Jay does speak about his career, it's not my stories to tell. So, all I'll say is I can't wait for the podcast to see what he talks about. But what I do know about his career is there is a real chance he is in a category of one when it comes to his experience as a soldier. And I do not say that lightly. I don't tend to say shit like that lightly, especially when it comes to military stuff. There is a very, very, very real chance that my mate Jay is in a category of one, which should become clear once his podcast comes out, where he speaks about it. Which is, it will be a mega podcast. And obviously at the moment he's blurry face. He's doing a face reveal on that podcast. I don't think he's ready for the fucking attention that he's about to get. We will see. Matthew says, I did cadets when I was younger. It's changed a lot. When a kid died in Scotland, the MOD had to tighten up on HSE. Makes sense. Dave says, any news on the new podcast where you interview people? We were talking about that a little bit earlier on. Yes, over the next month it'll be out. First ones. CTB says, cadets should have wilderness survival courses, set up survival challenges, have some muddy obstacle courses, etc. But cadets is just learning to tie a knot with no context about real world uses. Yeah, I could see that. Steve says, I tuned out for a moment, heard Jay and thought, wait, Jay Motti was a soldier. No. Stay tuned. It'll be, I don't know the exact day it's posted, but early next week is what I think. Antony says, I did the cadets in the 90s. We had a shooting range at our primary school. Wow. That changed after Dunblane. Fucking hell. Will I be working with GBRS in the future? I mean, I don't know. There's some stuff that we did that's not come out yet. Again, I don't know when that gets posted, but we will see. I'd love to work with them. I'm mad because like we shot some stuff a couple of weeks ago. I'm literally a fan. I am literally a Patreon member of GBRS because I'm a big fucking fan of them. And I'm sitting there as they're asking Patreon. I ended up saying, let me read them. Let me like read the Patreon questions to you guys because I'm a fucking Patreon for want of a better reason. It was cool. It was very fucking cool. Liam says, genuine question, how have I managed to stay out of the right-wing bollocks despite being a veteran? Amount of, brackets, claiming ex-army I've seen down that path is a madness. To be honest, I think it's just a reflection of what you see in there. A lot of my mates are a bit more balanced. Like again, this is something I'm probably going to do a video on. I was literally talking to Jay Motti about this morning. Politically, I feel homeless. And I feel like there's a fucking hell of a lot wrong with our nation, with Britain. I feel like I travel quite a lot. I feel lucky to be able to do that for my job. And I get to see both good and bad. And I go to some places and I go, this is fucking shit. And I go to some places and I go, this is fucking good. And there's a few things that I see that I used to really enjoy about Britain. Shopping, it's fucking dead, right? You go abroad, various different places, there's just better malls, better shopping areas of towns. London's still got it going on. Man, this fucking gaff around here now, Manchester's absolutely fucking dead for it. Absolutely fucking dead for it. Going out, that's dead. Absolutely on its arse. Boring. This generation, your fucking music's crap and your nights out are shit. I don't know if you need to all just fucking get off your nuts on drugs or whatever. There needs to be something that changes that makes it a fucking good night out again, because it's fucking boring. And I feel like that changed with COVID and just has not come back. It could also be my age, but it's one of those. From a politics point of view, I can't vote a Tory because they don't give a fuck about anybody apart from whoever's paying them. I can't vote Labour because they're just too arsed about offending anybody to the level that they just do not even stand for anything. The Greens have some decent ideas, but they'd get absolutely fucking wiped out if they, tried to talk to anyone about anything apart from what fucking bin day it is. What's the point in the Lib Dems? They lost any credibility by fucking ponying up with the Conservatives a few years back for that coalition. And I can't vote Reform because I've got a fucking brain. So you're like, there is literally not one politician or one political party where I go, they feel like normal people. They're either full on catchphrases and rhetoric that doesn't have any fucking sense behind it, and none of them address the fact that we're having our asses handed to us when it comes to energy prices. The fucking energy prices are like fucking 7 or 8 times what the rest of Europe is. How is that? How am I paying thousands a year for fucking electricity? How the fuck is that a thing? It's 9 times the average wage to live in an average house. If you and your missus work full time, there's only the top 10% of fucking earners can actually go and afford the average house. How does that make sense? That's fucking broken. People are going to uni getting in 50 grand's worth of debt for some fucking pointless degree that doesn't actually lead to a job. Where's all the... education doesn't just necessarily mean getting a bit of paper. It means being prepared to go and get a fucking job in something and be qualified to begin a career in something. That's gone. Being patriotic at the moment makes people just think, fucking racist lunatic flag shagger. I'm patriotic because I fucking love our country. What do I love about our country? I love the fucking countryside. I love the fucking visuals of the place. I love everything from Cornwall to, some of the heritage of London to the fucking, to the Peak District and the Lake District and the scenery of this place. It's a fucking phenomenal place with some phenomenal heritage. And it's being sold down the river by cunts. How's there more fucking poo in the rivers than there is in the fucking toilets? Like, it's backwards, man. It's absolutely fucking backwards. So yeah, I'm debating doing a video on something along those lines on the podcast channel because it's something I do want to talk about and it doesn't really have a home and it doesn't really make sense to be talking about it on a fucking transfer video. But I guess we're in trouble. Kind of fits, doesn't it? Yeah, kind of fucking fits. Anyway, I'm wrapping it up. Cheers for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe. Go and check out what we've just posted on IRL. We've just been to Switzerland, so we did a vlog where it's basically Janine and my daughter just whittering on with themselves because Janine decided to have a whinge. But go and have a look at that. And I'll see you lot in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.